Sitting here at Plant Matters Kitchen, and we're about to hit the market update. So we got two cameras, so you see us kind of jumping back and forth between the two of them. And we're going to be putting it on YouTube long form, so if you got to run, that's okay. You can always go to our YouTube channel. If you Google Grogan Conical Real Estate Brokerage, you'll see our YouTube channel there. That's where you get the long form videos. You'll see a lot of the lifestyle videos, our listing videos coming soon. The closers dailies there as well. So there's lots of good content. We're pushing a lot of that to YouTube. So go subscribe to that channel. It's going to be key. And then go follow us on Instagram as well. We're at the Closers team pretty much on all the platforms. And then you got Nathan the Closer as well too. So we're going to do some fun things in this episode. It's going to be us talking about real estate stuff for a little bit. And so that doesn't bore you, we're actually going to bring in Glenn Whitehead. He's the owner of Plant Matters Kitchen, and he's actually here hanging out. And we've known Glenn for a long time, so it'll be interesting to get somebody else's perspective on the industry as well as, just the facts. Because the funny thing about real estate, we can be so fancy with all our statistics and numbers that we miss some things that other people see that aren't necessarily in the industry. So, when we're talking market values, market comparables, yeah, we have to go off the stats and the comps, but what people are prepared to pay for property isn't necessarily going to be the same thing as the comps are telling you one day to the next. So let's jump into it. So I know you had some market stats here too. So you want to just introduce kind of what was happening last month in real estate?
Yeah, so I've done a few deals here in the last month or so, working on a couple more now. And we're just seeing a lot of, the inventory is very low, so it's a seller's market. If it goes on the market, it's usually going into multiple offers, typically, over asking, not crazy over asking right now, but yeah, we're seeing those bidding wars, and there's just not a lot staying on market for a long time. So I'm working with buyers from Manitoba Street, actually, which was sold, what was that, a month ago?
Yeah, January, those clients actually came to Nathan, wanted to find a place. He found a place that day. He was actually hopping on a plane. This is where the benefit of having a team comes into play is we share everything, right? So he called me, we went out to the property. It's a dynamite property, a couple acres of land, beautiful farmhouse, and that property, anywhere closer to London would be double that price, if not more, right?
So they liked that property. We ended up selling their house, but when we listed that, we did our due diligence all the way up until it. We listed it. We had 5 offers competing, and we sold it the next day over asking. So that's just kind of what's happening St. Thomas and London-wise.
So that was a little glitch in the matrix. So December, January wasn't that busy.
No.
So we were banging out deals left, right, and center, and it wasn't that competitive. You could get conditions in your offer, you can negotiate, which is my favorite thing to do. But right when we actually were wrapping up conditions on the one property and putting their property on the market, the glitch happened. And all of a sudden, the inventory shortened up, buyers started coming out, and that's where the multiple offers came into play. And having the right offer strategy to go into that can make a difference of tens of thousands of dollars, knowing how to deal with that. So it was kind of an interesting thing. December to January as well, keep in mind, we had a couple major snowstorms, right? So things short up right until mid-January. I know we covered Lake Erie and Lake Huron, London being the center of that territory. A lot of people couldn't travel to some of the other markets, so showings just weren't happening. Lots of inquiries because people were sitting next to their fireplace having a tea and just maybe researching on realtor.ca. But we actually went out and did a pile of business then when nobody else was. So then January comes along, supply shortens up, we're back to multiple offers. Statistically, 400 homes sold in January, which was actually down 30% from last year. And then they actually last year had a record for the best January ever. So everybody knows, the London St. Thomas market over the last couple of years has been hitting record-setting numbers, record-setting prices, month after month after month after month. That trend declined, right? So from midsummer till New Year's, statistically it wasn't the best month they've ever had. It was basically a reaction to some government changes in lending and everything else, taxes and investment taxes. The funny thing is about that, we were all kind of waiting to see how that was going to affect January, because last January to May was bananas in the marketplace, and every indication that we're seeing this year is it's going right back to what it was. So a big part of what we're doing is consultations with people, letting them know, where to set their expectations, because what something's actually listed for doesn't mean anything, right? If there's a property listed for, let's say, $260,000 on the market, what's your offer going to be? A lot of people will think, well, I'm just going to offer asking price, that should get it for me. It's not going to happen that way.
You don't know if they priced it high, you don't know if they priced it low, and you gotta really watch the market.
You literally just have to look at the comps and run the numbers, and whatever happens to make sense for you, happens to make sense for you.
The hard part right now too is comps are low. Like we're trying to evaluate a couple of the.
Yeah. It's a bit of a mystery.
It's crazy, right? And you have to kind of like we're looking at some houses that are we're buying for clients that are single-family residents, but they're looking to flip it into a duplex. So in that kind of situation, you have to look at comps in the area that are multifamily, what they've sold for. So it's a different beast.
Yeah. So I mean, that there is a lesson if you're gonna watch this. The market update that we have here, and you're gonna have one takeaway. It's you gotta work with your team. Don't necessarily look at the listing and base it off the list price, because a lot of people in the next 3 or 4 months are gonna be underpricing properties. It's frustrating, especially if you're not in the market and you're trying to get into it, but it's neither here nor there. You have to look and you gotta make a sound investment decision. Don't get emotional about something and overpay now, because in real estate, you make your money when you buy something. Right? Because when you go to sell it down the road, you don't want to get caught holding the bag. Actually, let's touch on that for a second. Investment properties. As far as inspections and stuff that's being advertised as illegal, what's your opinion on that?
Oh man, so we were at an investment conference a month ago or so, and you and me did a whole lot of reading up on the City of London building permits and rentals. And it really comes down to right now, like yes, it looks good when we look at a listing if it has a rental license, but as of an ownership change, that rental license has to be given up to the city and a new rental license has to be applied for. So sure, you might be getting into a triplex with two units upstairs and 1 unit downstairs, but the clearance is only, what, 6 feet one, and then when it's licensed at that point, but if you change the ownership, once you go to redo the rental license change, someone's going to come in and look that it has to be a minimum of 6'5" in the clearance downstairs. So yeah, if it has a rental license, it looks good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's still legal.
My man Dylan is on the stream. What's up, Dylan? Good to see you. So yeah, what Nathan is saying is bang on. If it's advertised as legal, it doesn't actually mean that it's legal. So keep that in mind, right? So something can actually be sold as a legally licensed duplex, meaning they have a legal license in place, but previously they were doing a self-certification checklist and then issuing that to the city, and the city gave them a license. Doesn't mean the city actually saw it, right? So a lot of people are getting shut down left, right, and center. Building standards is coming in, and you're going to see a big shift and a lot of lost money from people that kind of just ran into things thinking, oh, I just grabbed up this wicked legal property when it wasn't in fact legal, right? So touch on that. The actual inventory has been down significantly as well. So last year there was a mad rush to the market because of where prices were going. The inventory was down about 31%. There's 623 on the market last month. And then gives you an idea of the 400 sold. You can understand how there'd be a short kind of market there. And in active listings, I think there's about 1,020, down 27% from last year. St. Thomas as well, 30 homes sold in January, down 30% from the same last year. So St. Thomas is obviously a smaller city. The principles of economics are still going to work there, where if you have a smaller population base, you'll have less sales. But St. Thomas tends to follow London. I'd say almost a 3 to 6 month cycle in terms of multiple offers, pricing, everything else. Some people get frustrated with the pricing here and run to St. Thomas. And then last year we saw that stuff was going crazy January to May. Here, it tightened up in May, and then things went crazy in St. Thomas from May until August. So it was almost...
Just shows you how much it can change, and there's no pattern. So.
And then London, the average price was $333,000, so let's say $335 just for argument's sake. And then St. Thomas was $247,000. So that's your difference in the average price of a single detached home when you're buying it in that area. You're looking at $335 for London. You're looking at $250-ish in St. Thomas. Still super affordable in both markets. How long is that going to last? Who knows? Obviously, buyers from Toronto are coming and seeing these prices, and they're going crazy. London as a whole is shifting pretty dramatically. It's one of the reasons why we're actually here. I was in this space 2 years ago when it was a different restaurant. There's Charlie Smith, our amazing videographer, and there's Glenn Whitehead right there in the corner doing his thing. And it's funny, right? Like Old South has been strong and stable for a number of years, but there's one reason I wanted to bring Glenn on a little bit was to talk about. Sorry, I'm just gonna move this over here. Talk a little bit about what he's seen happen in Old South, and then Dundas Street, and then things from an overall perspective in London. So, our goal when we do these market updates is update you on the stats, right? Because the stats matter. But we say that with a caveat because the statistics usually come to us after about a 3 to 6 month cycle. So I buy Nathan's house today. It takes us maybe, let's say, a month to do the transaction, and then let's say another 60 days to close, and then another 60 days for them to process that data and get it into the market update stat and then publish it online. So the data that you're looking at is current data because it's the most recent sold data that's out there, not necessarily indicative of the deals that are actually happening in the streets. So, you know, when I brought Nathan on and we were talking about what are you seeing out there, there's been a big shift even in the last 2 weeks as to how we're approaching offers and looking at structuring offers and working with buyers, where 2-3 weeks ago, level of expectations with offer prices, conditions, and everything else, now we're just getting ready to do a lot more pre-inspections, work with the lenders closely and make sure the pre-qualifications are there ahead of time so we can be more competitive when we're actually going into properties, right? Confidence-wise, on the commercial side of things, lots of tenant activity. It seems like there's a lot of tenants that are wanting to open up shop. Dundas Street, there's been a surge of interest. The prices are going up. So everything we've been yelling for the last 2 years is happening. Dundas or Oldies Village is booming. I know a lot of investors are going in those areas and retrofitting properties and really bringing that area up quite a bit. And the Hamilton Road actually got a community improvement grant as well. I think to the tune of $10 million. We posted it a little while ago, but OEV got that, 5 years ago, and you've seen what's happened there. Hamilton Road is kind of that next little spot that they're targeting to have another community improvement association. Cool things happening. Royal Page Tri-Lane opened up in Soho, another good thing for Soho. You know, that was our old brokerage, so we're still really good friends with the people that work there and happy to see more jobs in that area. So as a whole, I mean, London's looking stronger than ever. Conversations politically around BRT, the mayoral race. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to have that conversation. Another time, if you want to ask us, feel free to DM us on any of our private streams. It's going to be tumultuous over the next couple of years until that all sorts itself out. But I've said to a lot of people, London has always been that community that succeeds in spite of whatever is happening politically, right? Like the business owners and the people that are invested in the community truly are. They're all intermingled. Glenn, you got 2 seconds, brother?
Sure, man.
So we're gonna bring a little guest over to have a chat with you guys. Here, we'll flip this way.
Here you go. How's it going?
Come over here. What's going on?
Hey, good. How's it going?
Good. I had lunch at Play Matters today, and then I came here to do
Came
this
here for a meeting after.
at the same time.
I had lunch and I came here for meetings too.
It happens that way, right? So, Glenn, I mean, interconnected with each other in different ways for, it seems like forever now, you know what I mean? Like just family, friends, everything else, and it's interesting to see what you've done in Old South, and part of the reason why we wanted to shoot you here and have this conversation with you is we can get kind of in our own world in real estate, statistics, numbers, sales, houses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to get some perspective from somebody that's doing business in the community, that's left the community for a number of years, like you said, come back. You know, first of all, let's talk Play Matters. So what made you come to Old South, first of all?
Well, when I moved back to London, I straight up Old South is where I wanted to live.
Yeah.
I just like the community feel. I like the walking nature of it. But I worked up in Oak Ridge for a long time, so I lived in Old South, but I would drive up to Oak Ridge. And then about 3 years ago, I made the decision to kind of live and work here in Old South. The restaurant was sort of the second thing that we started, but something about this 2-block strip that I think is a really and unique thing in London and in many cities. It's certainly very distinct in London. I know it's emerging in other places. You know, Oldies is happening and stuff, but this is really 2.5 to 3.5 blocks. And
Walkable.
Walkable, and there's 9 restaurants and cafes. There's 15 shops. There's health food stores. There's a grocery store. And you can live, eat, play, have a great day in Worley Village, and that's pretty cool. And I think the proposition of having 9 places to pick to eat is good for me and my restaurant. It's certainly good for everybody else because it makes people say this is a good place to drop in and check out.
You just get used to it, right? Like a lot of people have a scarcity mentality in business, and like in real estate it happens left, right, and center, thinking, oh, there's only so much business to go around. Whereas if you look at building a community, it becomes second nature to think,
Yeah.
well, I'll be ripping through all the stuff, maybe grab some soap from Quartermasters, then go walk over to Glen's spot, maybe gonna go get a tattoo removed in the building next
Yeah,
door,
that's
like literally just random stuff, right? I'm saying that because I'm actually getting two
Yeah, yeah,
removed
there you
at
go.
that spot.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they can actually
Yeah.
do.
Really impressive.
But yeah, so and then I remember you did the lease, you know, took the restaurant over. You really went up and running pretty quick, right? Like there wasn't a lot of lag time before people jumped on, or what was
Yeah,
that experience
it
like?
was pretty quick. You know, I mean, it felt like forever for us. You
Yeah.
know, kind of, you know, sitting in here on those late January, early February days, and in an empty place, and you know, figuring out the decor and the feel and the menu and all that. But yeah, we were up and running in March, like the end of March, and that's pretty good. Like it, you know, took us about 6 to 8 weeks to get completely from take the keys to open the restaurant. And you know, again, to talk to the community, you know, I can't tell you, but it was hundreds of conversations in those 6 to 8 weeks. People just tap. When are you gonna open?
Yeah,
What's happening?
that's
Tell us what's
awesome.
happening. And the community is really welcoming. And you know, it's an interesting community. You know, there's a lot of people that were like, well, where do you live?
Yeah.
Like, I live over there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Very
You're allowed to
genuine.
have a business here. So, but it's pretty cool. Like the community's great, the people are great, the local businesses. The day we opened, Ross from Sweet Onion like walked right in and shook our hand and
Awesome.
said congratulations and welcome. Wine Bar opened recently. I went over there and said congratulations and welcome.
Yeah.
I think there's a sense of kind of community and camaraderie, and I think the villagers like to support it. I think people like to walk here on a Saturday. It's wall-to-wall people here on a weekend.
And I mean, you even look at the YMCA and what they have with that place, like completely different
Yeah.
sphere, but it all adds to the overall kind of feeling.
And it does, yeah.
So from when you opened till today, I mean, it's just been consistent, stable growth, right? Like it's
Steady growth. You know,
Yeah.
we're about to have our second anniversary, and you know, we're, you know, like year over year, month over month sales 25% up this year over last year. So again, we're just more people are coming here. Again, and I think the thing is that I noticed living in Old South for 12 years now, but only opening the business here 2 years ago is, you know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, it was a little bit dust bowl-y around
Yeah.
here. It was a little empty. It didn't have a lot of
a couple
going
businesses
on.
had come and gone, and like it was
Some vacant
uncertainty,
spots
right?
and uncertainty, and I think, you know, we took this spot. The Woke Brothers opened, like a couple of cool things happened, and it sort of sparked. And I think, you know, we've got some more retail happening, and again, there's lots of cool things to eat, sleep, play, do, have fun with. So it's just a cool community, you know, and it has really, we've seen nothing but growth, and a lot of people are coming into the village from other areas every day.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like when I said we ate here before we came here, we use Uber Eats all the time, right? So we're sitting in the office, hammering on private work, hit Uber Eats, get food from Plant Matters, they drive it over, a local driver ended up bringing it, so it's very convenient, but then we didn't even think twice about coming shooting it here because I wanted to have a coffee,
Yeah.
right? Beautiful day outside, the sun's shining in, Plant Matters, which is all kind of came. So now we're going to take a little mental trip over to Dundas Street,
Yeah.
because I mean, you came in here when things weren't really popping to begin with, and then Dundas Street was kind of the same thing, right? Like we've been harping on Dundas for the last 3 years,
Yeah.
talking about what we see, because the economics make sense where you can make a business viable there. And you know, a lot of people in the community in general that were kind of against it, saying, you know, Dundas is what it's been for the last 20 years. Every time I ask them, when's the last time you went to Dundas? They go, 4 years ago. I'm like, okay, like, I get it. A lot's changed in the last
Yeah.
year, right? So, I mean, do you want to have that conversation
Yeah,
about
for
Plant
sure.
Matters Bistro and kind of what the thought was there?
Yeah, well, you know, it's the same thing. You know, I think you know, there are a lot of people that live downtown. There are a lot of people that play downtown, and there's a lot of people that travel downtown, and then a lot of people that work downtown. There's 4 unique, different groups of people that are all coming in and out of downtown London on a regular basis. And Dundas Street's definitely, you know, it's got its issues and it's got its warts, but you know, I lived in London in the 80s, and Dundas Street wasn't like that before, and cities and neighborhoods and communities go through cycles, and you know, Dundas had, you know, it's coming out of that cycle. There's a lot of investment. There's a lot of cool new spots and places to go and you know, I walk out of my restaurant. I can go across the street to the library and the community stuff there. I can turn right and go to cool little spots. I can turn left and go to cool little spots. I can go by Vinyl 3 doors down.
Pretty wild when you see all the different things that are there. And again, you don't see it initially because it's been like the way we've seen it for the last, say, 10 years, but it's cycling out of that, which is nice because what I've always seen, because I'm all over the place, right? I'm on Richmond Row, I'm on Dundas, I'm down here, I'm in West End, I'm in Grand Bend, I'm all over the place. What I like seeing in London is you have Richmond Row, you have Dundas and Central, King and Talbot, and then Old South. And there's always been some missing links. King and Talbot really wasn't anything 7 years ago. Dundas and Richmond hasn't been anything for the last 10. Now that King and Talbot's at capacity, some cool little restaurants. Now Dundas and Richmond has become that. It's linked Richmond Row to that area, to King and Talbot, to Old South, like all four of those. And Soho's coming along too. Like if you can create a link to Soho or Old East Village, we'll probably have one of the best downtowns in North America. But because it's a whole bunch of small cities just operating on their own, and you can get to one and the other in minutes, right?
It is really, really walkable. You know, I can literally walk from here to the bistro in less than 15 minutes.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But you're going basically straight down Worley, take a right and a left, and you're there. Right?
Yeah, right. So, and I do. Like, I often will walk from spot to spot, and I think, and now having the place that's at the other end of Richmond as well. Like, it's interesting to be in three very sort of unique, distinct kind of areas. Kind of one end of Richmond Row, one end of Dundas Street, and then here in Wortley Village. And I think they're all, they all speak a little bit to the power of their community. But that's a good point. Like, I do agree that London doesn't need to be. It's very fragmented now, but there's some simple changes can make it less fragmented. And I think there's some good things happening now that will do that. And I think there's a lot of good investment by people, entrepreneurs, kind of going out there and saying, yeah, I'm going to open up a shop here. I'm going to
make it happen, right?
Yeah.
I like that with the bistro, right? Because that was such a unique building when we did that deal with you. Went to see, a production kitchen was what we were looking at initially, right? In a long, narrow space. And for those of you that don't know, it's the old Braidwood Bistro building, right? So very, very unique. He went in there with a vision and just, night and day, right? And I ended up being in such a really cool spot. And I look at Toronto, and I think if you had a lease for a place like that in Toronto, you'd be paying $20,000 a month, right? So if they can make a viable business work with food and beverage, that maybe they're paying $20,000 a month, the prices are higher, but not that much higher.
Not much.
You can do a lot with a lot less space than you think you need in cities, right? And we were in here the other day, and you were even talking about, the flow and traffic and the customer experience, and that's so key, where I really think we're getting far away from the days where all people care about is the P&L and what are your profits and losses, and actually caring about the experience of the people that are here, and they'll spend their disposable income how they see fit. As long as you create a good environment, you have to run your numbers in business like anybody else, and you're in business to be profitable, but at the same time you take care of your employees, you take care of your customers, and the business is going to tend to take care of itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the important piece, and that's what we try to do is create very distinct and unique experiences between the bistro and the kitchen here. I like to say this is a little bit of San Francisco, and the bistro is a little bit of New York City or Vancouver and downtown Toronto. It's like that.
Montreal.
Yeah, okay,
Montreal.
That's good. Yeah, but it is. It's like that one of those classic long skinny restaurants downtown, and this is a place where it's jam-packed for lunch, jam-packed for dinner, but in the middle of the day, there's 5 computers on tables and people just chilling out, and it's a great vibe, and it's a cool place to just hang out. Literally Sunday we close after brunch, and I almost always walk over here around 5 o'clock. The place is totally empty, and I just sit down at this table, pour a pint, I open up my laptop, I do an hour or two of work, just sit, because it's a cool vibe, and there's not even anybody in it. I just love it, right? So.
It's fun, man. Kudos to you for the passion of doing what you do, right? I like guys like you because it fires me up to think of real estate. How can I do things completely different than things have been done in the last 30 or 40 years in real estate? We all know that every industry they go through cycles and changes, right? Every industry has its problem. I know challenges-wise, the restaurant industry is always changing. There's always new things coming up, right? So let's touch on the last topic, the Richmond Street location. What were the thoughts there?
Well, it was an existing, that was a kind of an easy win there. It was an existing cafe. It was somebody that I knew. It was already a vegan spot. It had a bit of a following, and the previous owner just kind of wanted out.
Okay.
And so we kicked around different ideas and different ways to execute, but it was just kind of a handshake deal, and we sort of okay, I'll take it.
You like the spot, like the vibe.
It's a good spot. It's a good vibe.
It's different, right? It's not this.
No, it's not. It's a total grab and go cafe, coffee. We're getting a liquor license, so we'll have some beer in there pretty soon. But small sandwich menu, salad menu, soup, chili, stuff like that. Not a lot. Breakfast menu and a lunch menu. And it's just kind of an easygoing, again, same thing. People come in and you'll see them do work on their laptops. And we're going to give it a bit of a facelift and clean it up a bit, change some furniture around. And then add like some grab and go stuff, so you can go in the morning and grab a juice or a coffee or a smoothie, grab your lunch, and head up to Western or Fanshawe or over to the offices or
So you
something.
throw in your cooler and you're good for the day?
Yeah,
What's the address?
that's a good question. 717.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's 717. Yeah.
717 Richmond. So go check out the Ground Up Cafe. Go to Old South. Check out Plant Matters Kitchen, and then go to Dundas Street. 244 Dundas. I know that address.
244,
And check out Greywood Bistro, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Say hi to Glenn. If you tell him you watch this, I'll buy you a coffee
There you go.
myself, so you can just tell him and he'll try it with me, right? Is that good?
That sounds good.
Cool.
Right on.
Thanks, dude.
Cheers, guys.
So to wrap this bad boy up with Nathan while he's doing an offer, I know he's been having a tough time here because he's busy, right? So things are good. Appreciate everything that you guys have done for us as a brokerage. Hope we're giving you guys some value. Keep an eye out for the feature Fridays that we're doing on Instagram. Keep an eye on all our different platforms. We're doing some exciting stuff. We are your curators. So if there's anything you want covered in the community, if there's people you think that deserve to be interviewed, let us know. We'll do it on the market updates on a monthly basis, and head to our YouTube channel. Again, appreciate the attention and thank you for all of your time. Nathan, Justin, signing out. Take care.